Welcome to News Desk on Celebration TV. I am Comfort James.
And I'm Femi Mark.
And the news making the rounds.
Please stay with us as we bring you details. Watch robust, objective, analytical, informative, educative, entertaining and inspiring news on Celebration TV News Desk. Every weekday, 11 a.m. GMT+1. That is 11 a.m. GMT+1 on Mondays through Fridays.
You are welcome to Sports Corner. I am Ivan Agafe.
Celebration TV News Desk. The whole truth. To 15.7 trillion naira at the end of December 2018.
Senior Democrats have responded by accusing him of committing a gross offense.
The All Progressives Congress has vowed to punish the Ogun State Governor, Ibikunle Amosu.
Hello, welcome. This is Celebration TV News Desk, and I'm Femi Marks. Here are the headlines. FG agrees to pay household 30 billion naira hand allowance. Holders. Conde Bihalo campaign in Conakry ahead of Sunday's vote. U.S. election, Trump and Biden deflect key questions and TV grilling. Inflation rate 830-month high at 13.7%, says Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Athlete delighted as FG lift ban on contact sports. Please stay with us. Details come shortly. And now the news in full. In Nigeria, FG agrees to pay ASU 30 billion naira hand allowance and holders. The federal government has agreed to release 30 billion naira hand academic allowance to the university lecturers. The money will be paid in tranches between May 2021 and February 2022. It was gathered that the federal government also promised to spend 20 billion naira on the revitalization of the education sector as part of the concessions meant to end the 7-month strike declared by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. These were part of the agreement reached during the ongoing meeting between the FG and ASU leadership. Speaking earlier before going into a closed-door session, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said students were being recruited into the ENDSARS protest following the closure of universities occasioned by the ASU strike. He expressed the hope that ASU would call off the strike soon, noting that the government had been finding ways to end the 7-month strike. And moving forward now to another story, and insecurity, hashtag insecurity now, protests rock Kaduna, Gombe, Kano, Bauchi and others. Several hundreds of youth yesterday stormed the streets of major cities in the north, including Kaduna, Gombe, Kano and Bauchi, in protest against the spate of kidnapping, armed robbery and banditry in the region. With the hashtag and insecurity now, the protesters asked the federal government to redeploy personnel of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad to the north to combat insecurity in the region. The protest was organized by the coalition of northern groups, which said it was against the harassment, intimidation and killing of Nigerians by the disbanded SARS. The coalition, however, argued that the region's challenges were not that of SARS, but insecurity in the form of banditry, insurgency, and other related crimes. The protesters hit the street of Kaduna and marched through the Muhammadu Buhari Way, Ali Akilu Road, and Lugard Hall to the State House Assembly complex. They carried placards with inscriptions such as "The North is bleeding," "Stop the killings in the North," and "Boko Haram now," and "Banditry now," "Empower SWAT to end insecurity," "All Lives Matter," and "Stop Rape Now," among others. In other stories, NYSC orientation camps reopen November. Coppers staff for COVID-19 test. The National Youth Service Corps yesterday announced that its 37 orientation camps across the country will reopen on November 10th after months of closure due to COVID-19 pandemic. The NYSC said the decision was sequel to an announcement for their reopening by the Minister of Youth and Sports and Development, Sunday Dare. The Director of Press and Public Relations, NYSC, Abdenike Adeyemi, stated these in a statement titled "Resumption and Orientation Program." She said, sequel to the announcement by the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Sunday Dare, on the resumption of the orientation course, the management of the NYSC wishes to announce that the program shall commence across the 37 orientation camps of the scheme nationwide on Tuesday, November 12, 2020. Similarly, the National Coordinator of Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sonia Aliyu, said they have developed guidelines with the MCDC and the NYSC for the reopening of the orientation camps on November 10th of 2020. And away from that story now to United States, Conde Diallo campaign in Conakry ahead of Sunday's vote. This is Guinea, Guinea's main opposition candidate, Salo Delaine Diallo, arrived in the capital, Conakry, yesterday ahead of the weekend's election, greeted by hordes of animated supporters. The city had earlier resounded to the sound of horns and as supporters of President Alpha Conde, who is seeking a controversial third term on Sunday, whisked through the city in a motorcade. After about a week of combative campaigning, the 82-year-old president himself returned to the capital amid heightened political tension in the West African state. Conde's re-election bid comes after he pushed through a constitutional referendum in March, which he argued would modernize the country, but which allowed him to bypass a two-term limit for president. Opposition to these triggered mass protests from last year, October, sparking a massive crackdown by security forces and claiming dozens of lives. Riot groups are increasingly critical of Conde, whom they say is veering towards authoritarianism. Diallo's motorcade proceeded through streets thronged with supporters wearing green and white colors of his party yesterday, while a swarm of motorbike riders driving ahead of the opposition leader stormed between the supporters. And still from around Africa, Libya mobile clinics test for COVID-19 in Tripoli. Libyan undergo testing for the COVID-19 disease at a mobile clinic in Tripoli to fight against the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Although Libya earlier seemed to have passed the peak of COVID-19 contaminations, the situation has become dire in Libya. As the pandemic drags on, Libyans' reluctance to open their daily routines has increased. And with mosque opening last Friday in and around the Libyan capital city Tripoli, experts fear the new spike of contaminations. Libya has officially crossed the 45,000 mark in terms of contamination. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we'll give you an update from the United States regarding the U.S. election. Please don't go away.
time has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
There's a revival! Let's take it.
International Ministers Conference, October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT +1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132 Benin Okene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call Ministers without blemish. Prepare for your next level.
You're welcome back. Now, away from African stories, now to United States. U.S. election, Trump and Biden deflect key questions in TV grilling. U.S. President Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden have batted away key questions during dueling Meet the Voter TV event. Mr. Trump, a Republican, declined to disavow a bizarre online conspiracy, while Mr. Biden, a Democrat, would not divulge plans for the Supreme Court. Both candidates were on the defensive at times on their records, Mr. Trump for a range of issues and Mr. Biden on race. Opinion polls indicate Mr. Biden has a solid lead over Mr. Trump. However, polling is still very close in several key states which could decide the election. More than 18 million people have already voted in person or by post for the 3rd November vote. Thursday night town hall as TV voter question and answer event are known in the U.S. replaced a cancelled second presidential debate. Mr. Trump had refused to join that showdown virtually following the recent COVID-19 diagnosis, from which he now appears fully recovered. Now, update from the Asia. Twitter major outage affects users around the world. Twitter has experienced a major outage with users across the world affected. The social media giant said the issue was caused by an inadvertent change it made to its internal systems. People in countries including the US and UK were unable to use the platform for more than an hour, with many receiving error messages. The service was later largely restored, and the California-based company said the site should soon be working for all its users, according to damndetector.com. Reports of problems with Twitter began to spike at about 21:30 GMT yesterday. It said users from around the world, including Japan, Australia, Argentina, and France, had reported being unable to use the platform. In the US, therefore, there were tens of thousands of reports of problems. Users were sent error messages, including something went wrong and tweet failed. There's something wrong. Please try again later. Twitter said there was no evidence of a security breach or hack. Internet monitoring group NetBlocks confirmed the incident was not related to country-level internet disruptions or filtering. And business stories. Inflation rate hit 30-month high at 13.7%, says the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. The National Bureau of Statistics yesterday reported that inflation rate in Nigeria rose to a 30-month high of 13.71% in September 2020, 0.49% up from 13.22% recorded in August. This represents the highest inflation rate the country has recorded since March 2018, when it stood at 13.34%. Meanwhile, analysts at United Capital Management Limited have projected that the ongoing Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS protest high financial system liquidity without commensurate increase in economic output. Food supply shortages, structural bottlenecks, and currency market challenges will further pressure the nation's headline inflation till the end of the year. The MBA's report stated the Consumer Price Index CPI, which measures inflation, increased by 13.71% year-on-year in September 2020. This is 0.49% points higher than the rate recorded in August 2020, which was 13.22%. Increases were recorded in all classifications of individual consumption according to purpose divisions that yielded the headline index. And still on business story, American firm acquires Nigerian startup Paystack for $200 million. Stripe is acquiring Paystack, a technology company based in Lagos, for $200 million. This alliance will allow the two companies to accelerate online and offline commerce across Africa. Paystack's co-founder and chief executive officer Shola Akinlade said in a big post yesterday, the acquisition will allow organizations of all sizes to easily collect payment from around the world. And the statement said, according to the company, the acquisition is subject to regulatory approval. In a statement entitled, Stripe will acquire Paystack to accelerate online commerce across Africa. The statement described Stripe as a technology company that builds economic infrastructure for the internet. Paystack currently processes more than half of all online transactions in Nigeria and has ambitious plan to expand across continent, and recently started a pilot with businesses in South Africa. However, Matt Anderson said in just 5 years, Paystack has done what many companies could not achieve in decades. Their tech-first approach, values and ambition greatly aligned with theirs. Stripe's business lead in EMEA. He added that the acquisition will give Paystack resources to develop new products, support more businesses, and consolidate the hyper-fragmented African payments markets. We're going on a short break now. When we return, we'll give you stories from sports. Please stay with us.
Has come for the gathering of sons to get recharged and revitalized.
The church that cannot be despised is a church of testimonies.
An outburst of revival.
There's a revival Take it.
International Ministers Conference, October edition.
Testimonies are the trademark of God's mandate.
Apostle Johnson and Dr. Lizzie Suleiman, 28th through 30th October 2020. Ministers without blemish. Time 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. GMT+1. Happening live at the International Worship Center, Omega Fire Ministries, Kilometer 132, Benin Okene Abuja Expressway, Auchi, Edo State, Nigeria. For inquiries, please call Ministers without blemish. Prepare for your next level.
You're welcome now to sports stories. Athletes delighted as FG lift ban on contact sports. Nigerian athletes were in ecstatic mood yesterday after the federal government lifted the ban on football and all other contact sports in the country with effect from Monday, October 19th. The national coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sonia Liu, in a briefing in Abuja yesterday, said the FG had decided to ease the restriction on football and other contact sport in the country. Liu said the decision was arrived at after consultation with the Sports Ministry and the National Center for Disease Control. He, however, announced that the games would take place behind closed doors. Aliyu stated that it's also time for sports to open, but to open safely, and in this regard, they have continued with providing guidelines and engagement with states to ensure close supervision and oversight as sports reopen. The lifting of restriction on outdoor sporting activities, including football, is in line with the early consultation with the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development and the National Center for Disease Control. However, this is limited to the actual sport itself, not with mass gatherings. In another sports story, COVID-19 rise, France-based Eagles stars may miss Sierra Leone clash. Super Eagles players in the French League One may miss Nigeria's 2022 African Cup of Nations qualifying doubleheader against Sierra Leone in November, following the recent upsurge in COVID-19 cases in the European country. Forwards Moses Simon and Samuel Carlo played in the French top flight with Nantes and Bordeaux respectively. Injured midfielder Wilfred Ndidi and goalkeeper Ikechukwu Ezenwa, who have been inactive due to COVID-19, may also miss the AFCON qualifiers. Although Carlo, who injured his hamstring in the Nigeria's 1-0 defeat to African champions Algeria last Friday, may not fully recover before the games on November 13th and 17th. New health precautions in France will keep him and Simon away from the clash. The French government on Wednesday announced 22,050 new coronavirus cases, with the government forced to restore a national state of health emergency. The government has placed 9 major cities on the 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. curfew, which will apply for at least 4 weeks. The cities under curfew are Paris and its suburbs, and as well as Marseille, Lyon, Lille, Saint-Étienne, Rouen, Toulouse, Grenoble, and Montpellier. And that's what we have for you today from News from Celebration TV News Desk. In case you missed all of those stories, here are the headlines again. The Nigerian federal government agrees to pay ASU 30 billion naira hand allowance holders. Conde Diallo campaign in Conakry ahead of Sunday's vote in Guinea. And then in the United States U.S. election, Trump and Biden deflect key questions in TV grilling. Back to Nigeria, inflation rate hit 30-month high at 13.7%, says the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And now sport finally, athlete delighted as federal government of Nigeria lifts ban on contact sports. Thanks for staying tuned to Celebration TV. We have on the screen right now the photo of the day, and then you can tell us what your opinion is about the photo of the day. You can share your thought with us on Facebook, which is Celebration TV, and on Instagram we have My Celebration TV. On Twitter is at My Celebration TV, and on YouTube www.youtube.com/Celebration TV. The continuous transformation of our society is a collective responsibility of all. No matter the office you hold, as a nation's president, a top leader, an opinion molder, a character builder, a professional, as a person pursuing passion, you have a duty to give your heart to making the society a better place for us and the generations to come. Play your part and do it with all diligence. Thanks for staying tuned to Celebration TV. You can walk our broadcast again this evening. Thank you and have a lovely time with all our content. Bye for now. I'm Femi Marks.
To 15.7 trillion naira at the end of December 2019.
Senior Democrats have responded by accusing him of committing a gross offense.
The All Progressives Congress has vowed to punish the Ogun State Governor, Ibikunle Amosun.